Hello lovely people, it's Nicola back in the Stitches and Slapdashery sewing room. How are you guys? I had a busy weekend. Saturday, Mr. Stitches and I drove down south a little ways to go to a farmers and crafters market that we really like. We have some friends there who have a food truck, and we made sure to buy some things from them, and because they're such good friends, they even snuck us a little freebie. So yes, I had a little bit too many calories on Saturday, shall we say, because I bought this food from them thinking, okay, that's enough. It'll give me something to eat. And then they gave me another thing and it was like, oh my God, this is a lot. But I'm not complaining because they're good friends and their food is really, really good. It was mostly nice weather that day. We've had an amazing amount of rain the last week. For our area here, which is interior of British Columbia, it's normally really, really dry. And usually in May, at some point in May, I'm saying, it's too hot. It shouldn't be this hot already. I'm suffering. It's dry. It's fire season, blah, blah, blah. But no, we've actually had quite a bit of rain. It's been great. There was one evening last week when Mr. Stitches and I went out walking and we had our waterproofs on, like tops and bottoms, and we still got wet because they couldn't even handle the heavy rainfall. There was a few claps of thunder that evening as well. I mean, I love thunderstorms. Not usually out walking in them. I really love thunderstorms. But that was awesome. And it's so good for the garden, of course, because the trees this year are really showing how stressed they've been with some of the extreme cold. We had a very brief period of extreme cold in the winter when I think it went down to about -21. And then the dryness that's pretty much ongoing usually. So having all this rain is fantastic. It damps down everything a bit for forest fires, and it means we don't have to run our sprinklers to keep the garden alive. Because of the already put in place water restrictions, Mr. Stitches decided he wasn't even going to bother planting anything in the actual vegetable garden this year, but we do have a few pots out there with some flowers and some tomatoes. All of which is to say, we had a really nice walk through the market and along the waterfront on Saturday. Wow, I digressed and I actually managed to bring myself back to where I was talking about. That never happens. And just as we were getting back to the car, massive raindrops started falling. And we got in the car and then the heavens opened. And on the way home, just for the first part, the rain was lashing against the windshield. I got a bit of film of it. I'll put it in either before or after this part. You'll see that. That was insane. And the funny thing was, before we were even halfway home, the rain had stopped and the roads were dry, and they hadn't had that same cloudburst further north. So Saturday was a good day. And then Sunday was my first Farmers and Crafters market. I'm glad to say that Mr. Stitches decided to come down and help me. He came down in his own car so that he could help me set up, go off for a walk, go home, and then come back later. Just for the first week, just as I was getting used to the whole procedure of getting set up and getting torn down at the end of the market. And setting up was fine. I just parked where they told me to, and I unloaded my stuff onto the grass, and it wasn't raining at the time, which was good because, you don't want all your stuff to get soaking wet. Then I had to zip off and park my car in a special spot and set up my tent and my table and everything like that. I did post a picture to Instagram, but I've got some film of it, so I'll be putting that in this video as well. And not everything fitted on the table. I tried not to overcrowd it quite as much as I did 3 weeks ago at that indoor market. Plus, I did have the hanging space. So with the tent, there's a frame, obviously, under the roof. And I had brought some shower curtain rings with me. And so I was able to hang some of my hobo bags on the left-hand side and some of my tote bags on the right-hand side. And then I had like a clothes hanging rail, a really lightweight one that packs right down, but I left it set up to throw it in the car and it was fine. And so having the hanging space in addition to the table meant that stuff fitted in okay. The massive pieces of fabric that my friend gave me to use as tablecloths were awesome, actually, because the blue one, there's a blue one and a burgundy one, and I use them both. And the blue one was at the front of the table and it matched my tent awning absolutely perfectly. And I thought, wow, fortuitous or what? So it looked really good. I think my stand looked pretty good. Anyway, I didn't sell a huge amount. I did have some very nice people to talk to either side of me. I was in a good spot in that I had people on 3 sides. I was a bit worried that if it rained, that it might come in and make me feel a little exposed, because I didn't have anything to put around my tent, sort of hang up to make a wall. And as it turned out, that was fine, because I had a vegetable lady behind me, and I had a jewelry lady on the other side, on the right-hand side, and I had a young couple on the left who were selling wax melts and candles. And I was facing away from the prevailing wind. The only downside was I did have a rather cold draft in the back of my neck for quite a lot of the time. And I was wearing a t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, a thin sweater, a thick cardigan, crocheted one, my fingerless mitts, and a cowl, a cotton one, not a woolly one. And I was cold most of the morning. It wasn't a warm day. I think the sun only came out for about 10 minutes total, but it was fine. Quite a few people still came through the market, so that was good. And yeah, I think I sold 3 things to new customers. And then my friend who custom ordered a coffee cup carrier, but a bit taller, for her sister, she came and paid me for that, picked it up too. So I guess you could say I sold 4 things. And because the table fee was higher for the first week, I didn't cover my fee, but I know it'll get busier and it'll get more popular as people get to realize that it's on, and as more tourists come through into June, July, and August, it will get better. But yeah, my plantar fasciitis did not like me standing for hours on cold, wet grass, I have to say. I have invested in some new shoes. I had some old Skechers. I love Skechers. I don't know about you, but Skechers are like the only shoe I'll buy these days, except those granny square ones, which of course was a complete luxury extra. But yeah, I always buy Skechers. I have indoor Skechers for when I'm walking around the house and doing my gymmy things in the house, because occasionally I do a little bit of exercise in the house, but not as often as I should. They were also my shoes for when I went down to World Gym, and I was needing indoor shoes for that. Haven't been going there for a year and a half now. I stopped paying because I just wasn't getting the money's worth out of it. I stopped doing the classes that I like to join in with. And I'm digressing again. But yes, I just bought some new Skechers. I was looking on Amazon for something else, and they suggested, you know how Amazon loves to suggest things you've bought before? It's like, perhaps you'd like to buy this again. And I saw the rainbow Skechers that I had bought a year or 2 ago. Can't remember. And they were like, do you want to buy these again? And I was thinking, well, my other ones are getting a little old. And I thought I could do, but maybe I should be a bit more practical and buy some more neutral colored ones. So I got some that were black. They have a little hint of color, like a little bit of turquoise around the top and a little pink logo on it. I like those. So my feet will love me for wearing new shoes. And I also bought some new insoles again. Went to London Drugs the other day and I got some more of the arch supporting ones. This is what you're here for, right? Talking about arch supports. I don't think so. So I really should be careful what I say, because I said to the young couple next to me at the market, at least we'll be tearing down without it raining on us. Well, we unpacked everything, moved everything to the curb so that I could go get my car and pack my car. It starts to rain again, doesn't it? Honestly, I don't really want all my bags and stuff to get wet. The only thing I tried to make sure was covered up with some, I have some hat boxes, which are sort of paper covered cardboard, and I thought, oh God, that'll ruin them if they get wet. But anyway, everything packed into my car fine. Cinder blocks worked fine. It didn't get particularly windy yesterday. I know there's someone I know who does a lot of the one-off markets in the spring and fall around the valley, and there was an Instagram of her holding down her tent on Saturday, because she did a different market on Saturday, and they obviously had quite the wind go through, and she's having to hang on to her tent to stop it from blowing away. You can see how that could be a safety hazard, can't you, if people didn't weigh their tents down properly. So yeah, my cinder blocks worked fine. My little denim totes for my cinder blocks worked fine. So that's awesome. Oh yeah, one of the things I sold yesterday was to another vendor. She came across with her daughters, and they bought one of my little doggy poop bags. They thought they were brilliant. So hey, that was good. Every time I saw someone go by with a dog, I felt like dragging them in and saying, I have these for sale. But of course, then I get in trouble. You're not supposed to harass the customers. There's a written rule about that. Before I go on, I should probably just show you the sweater that I'm wearing. Ooh, it's a cropped one. I don't normally wear cropped sweaters. I feel like cropped sweaters probably look a bit better on young, slim things, and I'm not a young, slim thing anymore. Maybe I was 35 years ago. But anyway, wear what you like. That's what I say. Don't bow down to societal pressure. But this sweater is one I made with Scapious Stone Washed and River Washed XL. I think there's 2 weights, and this was the heavier weight, the worsted weight one. And I just love all the colours in this yarn. It was one of those packs where you buy like that big box with all the mini skeins of every single colour. And then I had the foresight to buy extra of this moonstone colour. So when I made this sweater, it was a top-down thing. And I thought, okay, I'll make the yoke out of the cream and then just use all the colours in the body and sleeves. And the sleeves don't match. They're kind of close, but they don't match. But that's okay. I love the colours. I haven't worn it a lot because, as I say, I'm not totally comfortable wearing it. But it was just the extra layer I needed today. It's a little cool in the house. And I have no idea what the pattern and designer are. So I'll have to put it into the description box, of course. Not a lot to show you at this point. I will probably be adding more to this video later because I want to sew something. I want to sew something fun, just for me. I don't want to batch sew anything. I don't want to think about what a customer likes. I just want to make something fun that I'll enjoy making. And if it turns out to be saleable, I can put it on the stand next Sunday. So at this point, I'm just not sure what that's going to be. So I'll just show you the crochet I've done. While I was at the market yesterday, of course you need something to keep your hands busy while you're waiting around. So I took this little Japanese knot bag that I made donkey's years ago. And I took one of these skeins of yarn, the Ice Yarn Sweet Baby, and a 4.5mm hook. And I just started crocheting. I thought I'll make a little baby beanie. So I made it top down. And it's super cute. I just started up here, and once it got to 5 inches, I started to work straight, and it was about it's about 5 inches in diameter at the crown, and then 5 inches deep in the body, I think. And I managed to get all the colours to show in it because it went through the whole range from the yellow to the green. And then I did my little adjustable brim idea. So I was working in a spiral, and of course, otherwise you'd end up with a step here. So I do a few chains, and then I crochet back along it, and then put a button on. And so if it's a little loose at the brim, you can unbutton this flap and move it over a bit and tighten it up. I have so many buttons. Every time I get my button collection out, I'm like, I really need to come up with something that uses a lot of buttons again, like that green button bag I made a while back. And I did start another one. So I got this far on a second one, but I was going to make that a little bit bigger. Maybe go to 6 inches on the crown on that one before I went straight, although it's starting to curve by itself right now. I'm very, slapdash, of course, about my increasing. When I'm trying to do flat circles, I tend to eyeball it rather than do it mathematically, unless it really matters. Didn't really matter in this case. So I'm making these little things just to keep my hands busy, really. It's not because I've got anyone in particular in mind for these. And then the other thing was, I don't know if you saw my little shorts the other day. I did a little shorts where I filmed a little bit of the multiple skeins of Scapia Soft Fun. And I just realised this one's still got its label on. I thought I had thrown all the labels out because I thought, it doesn't really matter what the colours are called now. I'm using them all up and they're a right mess anyway. But when I made this little video the other day, what I had planned was to make a flax sweater. So flax is by Tin Can Knits, and they have it in multiple sizes from really tiny to really large. It's a free pattern. Tin Can Knits, if you don't know about them, they have a lot of basic patterns. I think they call it the Simple Collection, and the flax sweater I think is one of them. And they're really good for beginners. I'm not a beginner knitter, but sometimes it's nice to have something simple. So the flax sweater is basically a stockinette stitch top-down sweater, and it has a garter panel down the top of each sleeve. And I thought, okay, I could make that out of all these little colours of the Soft Fun. But first, the problem I had was my knitting needles were mixed up, my smallest sizes, and I could not figure out what was what. So in the end, had to get Mr. Stitches to get a caliper and double check the sizes of them. And I was confusing myself because I know I have extras of the US 4s in the original Rainbow Wood set, because when I first got them and I used the size 4s, one had a burr on it and they replaced that. And I thought I'd thrown out the one with the burr, but I may have sanded it. And so I had 2 pairs of the size 4s, which is what was throwing me right off, because I compared it to my Caspian blue-green set. And I thought, I have a whole extra pair of needle tips here. What's going on? Oh boy, poor old brain, eh? Confused myself. So I did start knitting this thing. I got the ribbing done and the first few rows, and I just didn't like the way it was feeling. The yarn is a cotton acrylic. It's 60% cotton, 40% acrylic, which is a nice blend. It's a DK weight. And I bought this as I think I bought this as like 3 sets of minis, because I made myself this advent calendar idea 1 year, probably 2 years ago. So I had all of these tiny little balls, which I think are 20 grams, and I thought I'll make a stripy sweater. I'll just follow the flax pattern and just stripe it when I feel like it. Yeah, I didn't like how it looked. The knitted stitches just looked really stringy and loose, and oh no, I don't like it. So then I thought, okay, I'll crochet one. So I found a child's sweater or baby sweater, and it was actually one I'd had in my Ravelry queue for a while. And it was a top-down baby sweater, raglan, and the initial pattern or design has a contrast band across the bottom or the middle of the body with a couple of little ears and eyes on it. So it looks like a little teddy or rabbit or something. And it's really cute. But in the end, I am just following it for the yoke because I've gone off piste now. I find it really hard to follow a pattern to the letter. This is what I've got so far. Now I'm making the 6 to 12 month size, and I have no idea if my gauge is right or not. So don't take this as a typical example of a 6 to 12 month sweater. To me, it looks quite big. So I'm working top down, and I thought, okay, I'll start with the rainbow. And then we'll just go and pick each color depending on how it looks next to the previous color. They are joined rows, so you get a bit of a seam line down the middle of the back, but it's not too bad. I'm at the point where I have done most of the body and also some short sleeves. And I think because it's cotton acrylic, this would work quite nice as more of a t-shirt than a sweater. So I noticed that when I was looking at the pattern that after you've done the double crochet yoke, you're supposed to do half double for the contrast band on the middle when you're putting the little character's face on. I didn't do that. I just carried on in double crochet. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to eyeball it. So when I think it's long enough, I will probably do a couple of rows of front post, back post double, just to put a little bit of ribbing on the bottom. And the sleeves are going to stay short. I'm not sure how much I'm going to add to those, if anything. I might just do around a single crochet on there, just to call it done on that. So it's definitely colourful. And I have a whole bunch of scrappy bits left. Avert your eyes if you get really upset at messy yarn, because I'm going to show you this yarn pile. It's all a little crazy right now. And I know I'm going to have lots of that left over once I'm done with this. So what I'd like to do is make a toy, a stripy toy of some kind. But I was looking on Ravelry to see if I could find anything, and nothing's standing out for me right now. So that remains to be seen. I'm all set up at the market. Sunday morning. Didn't have to be here too early. I got here about 7:45. Took me about an hour to get all set up. Market opens at 10, closes at 2. It's not raining, which is great because we've had a rainy week. Beautiful location, small town, right on the lake, grassy park. Couldn't be better. Okay, I just was yakking to the camera for a solid 5 minutes and realised I didn't have my microphone on. Oh, good grief. So now I have it on. It's switched on. The little wireless doohickey that plugs into my phone and actually connects up to it is in there. So this better work this time. Oh, Nicola. Yes, after I spoke to you this morning, I went and did some editing, and then Mr. Stitches came home. We had some lunch and then we went for a walk. I dropped my resume in at the store nearby because I had already submitted a version of it to their head office online. Most people want you to apply online these days. And I hadn't had anything back. So I thought it won't hurt to drop a paper resume in to the manager there. Just explain a little bit in my cover letter why I can't work weekends at the moment. Because I know retail, they really like you to commit to all the hours that there are, right? They want you to be available from like 5 a.m. to midnight, 7 days a week. Maybe not, but that's just an example. So we had a good walk, got our steps in for the day, and then we had some dinner. So it's evening now, and I got around to the sewing that I promised myself I was going to do. And I know I said it was going to be some fun sewing, but it wasn't entirely fun because my seam ripper got some action today. It's a good thing. It's a big, strong one because it got some action today. Oh, man. I have to say, things are going a lot better since I started using the jeans needles that I had in my collection. Why didn't I do that before? I don't know why I didn't do that before. I had jeans needles all the time, and I was struggling with the top stitching and the stitch length remaining constant, and it's so much better with a jeans needle. Not perfect necessarily, but a lot better than it was. So I used some denim to make a sling bag. And this is not actually old jeans. This is some yardage that I had in my collection. So it was nice and easy to cut out. I didn't have to work my way around any seams or anything. It's a pretty simple style. No hardware, no sliders, no swivel hooks, just some zipper. I used continuous zipper tape, my favorite rainbow zipper tape. And it's from a tutorial on YouTube from Ire Heart Crafting. That's I-R-E, Heart. And I left a comment on her video afterwards, and I did say I made a couple of changes. Because when you're doing this front pocket, I could see that the bulk of the zipper in the seam was going to be an issue. You've got one zipper here meeting this zipper here, and I just thought, if this zipper is in this seam, oh, it's going to be awful. So I added a tab to the end of this. I don't know if you can see it right there. Just a simple tab so that it would be the tab that went into the zipper seam and not the teeth of the zipper. With hindsight, I mean, I considered this, but I didn't want to do any more unpicking. I could have also done a tab on this side, and if I made this again, I probably would do a tab on both sides, both ends, because I think it would look better. And it would also mean that when you're sewing, when you're getting the pocket constructed before you put the whole bag together, then I think the whole zipper on the front would look better. Anyway, it's got quite a decent sized pocket, so the pocket on the front is that whole bottom section. It's just one layer of denim there. The tutorial is actually written for upcycling jeans. So what was the other thing I had a problem with? Right, it seemed to me that when she was sewing everything together, like once you've got this all the elements put together and you just do that big seam where you go all the way around, leave a gap for turning, she seemed to be showing on there to push the zipper tabs on this main zipper towards the outer, and I've always found that that does not create a very good result. I tried it and I regretted it. What happened at the bottom of the zipper here is that I actually ended up having a little bit of raw edge sticking out at the bottom. So I turned it all the way back through, unpicked a bit, and then pushed the seam allowances towards the lining. That's right. You push the tab. Wait a second. I pushed the tab towards the lining, not the seam allowances. Yeah. So by pushing the tab towards the lining, when you turn it right side out, the tab pops out correctly. And that's how I normally do it. It doesn't look great down here. It's got a bit of a weird look to it, but not as weird as the first attempt. I used a very neutral lining fabric. And apart from a little bit of battling with those tabs, it worked out, and it actually looks pretty nice now. This is the beauty of making bags. By the time you've turned them through and sewn the lining shut, all the nasty stuff is on the inside. Now I have to remember which way to put this on. I'm absolutely covered in threads, and my sewing table is covered in stuff. Probably hit the microphone now. Oh, sorry. So, yeah, I accidentally spilt my pins over there. There's pins, there's clips, there's bits everywhere, there's trimmings, there's the backing from all the double-sided tape I used to do the zippers. It's a disaster. And I have a feeling that you're crooked because when I messed around with my phone before, my little piece of cardboard that I always put under my tripod to make sure you're straight, it moved, and I think you're crooked. Never mind, eh? All right, so this is what it looks like on. It just fits neatly across the body. When you're constructing it, she gets you to clip a tape measure here and then clip it down here so that you can get it exactly the right size. Mine was 90 centimeters. Because she's in Canada, she does it all in metric. That's not to say that because I'm in Canada, I do my measurements in metric, because I usually do them in inches. But luckily I am bi-measurable and I can work in inches or centimeters. I have a ruler that has both. The tape measures have both. The only thing that I don't have, or rather my quilting rulers are mostly in inches. I do have a couple of centimeter ones, but they have very dark lines on them and they work great for light things. But if you have dark fabric, they're terrible. And I have a feeling that they were made more for craft, like paper craft or something, because on fabric, they're not great. They were cheap. I bought them from Amazon because they were metric, and I should show you what the brand is, shouldn't I? Hold on a second. So my favorite rulers when I'm working in inches are my OmniGrid ones. Ooh, you can see the reflection of my lamp there. When I started quilting in 1998, and I know it was 1998 because I was pregnant with my youngest son when I did my first quilt class, and I was hooked. I bought a 6-inch by 24-inch ruler, and that is always my most used ruler ever since then. But I do also have a 12.5-inch one, 12.5-inch square, and a 6-inch square. And so I can do anything with those. I've never felt the need to get any other ones, except when I decided to try these metric ones. They're called Crafter's Dream. And you'll see on the OmniGrid ones how the lines are surrounded by yellow. So the black lines have yellow around them. So they're really easy to see. I've also got some of these non-slip grippy things here, which have been mostly helpful. Sometimes they fight you a bit when you want to just nudge the ruler over a bit, but mostly I'm glad I've got them. These ones, you probably can't even see that. It's so crystal clear because they're okay. I can see when the light shines on it that they're a little scratched up, but they are crystal clear, and they have just black lines and the occasional sort of blue number. So they'll have the centimeters. They've got centimeters marked on them. So I bought what was this one? 30 centimeter one. So this one's 30 centimeters square, and this one's 60 centimeters by 15. And yeah, I just thought it would be really handy to have them if I was following a tutorial from someone online who was only using centimeters. And they have had a little bit of use, but quite often I'll just convert it to inches instead. Because that's how I roll, apparently. So back to the bag. What was I saying about the bag? Yeah, that's right. I did a 90 centimeter strap. Okay, I'm on form today, aren't I? So 90 centimeters works out great for me. Obviously, if someone else wanted to wear this bag and they had a lot more boobage than I did, then it might be an issue. But this one works for me. And you could also, probably going to mess with the microphone again now, you can also wear it on your back like this. So I'm quite pleased with the result, and I would definitely put that on my market stall next week. I didn't have any sort of jeans patch to put on there. Most of my jeans denim I get as legs that have already been cut off the body, and so I don't have the top parts where the labels are. And so when the girl who did the tutorial did this, she put the jeans patch on here from the ones she cut up to make it. But I think a lot of people probably are quite happy to have something that's a bit plainer, because then it will go with more things. Plus, with that rainbow zipper, that's probably enough bling for some people. You know me, I could easily go for more colour. So I think it would be worth making that again. I'm just wondering whether it would be practical with the non-adjustable strap for making it for sale, though. Because if a child wanted to wear it, then it would probably be too long of a strap. And as I say, someone who's well endowed in the boob area might need a longer strap. But I do like that it doesn't take a lot of hardware, because I never seem to have the right hardware that I need. You know, every now and again I'll order a bunch of stuff and then I'll want a different size or something like that. Yeah, fun times. It feels nice. I splurged for this one and I put Thermolam in there, which is a fusible fleece. In the video, she just used some regular batting, I think, and she used the spray. She probably used that. Yeah, I've got the 505 spray. Got it on the windowsill there. Don't know if you can see it. Or maybe you can. The 505 temporary basting spray is quite handy because it just holds everything while you sew it. But because it's actually cut without the seam allowances, then it's not being sewn into place. The only thing that is really would really be holding it in place would be the seam where you do the top part of that zipper. Apart from that, it would be able to flap about a bit in there. So I think using the fusible was a good idea. It does make it a lot more pricey. I've got so much batting that I've had in the stash for a long time, and quite often I get away with just using the scraps out of the scrap bag. I rarely cut into the good stuff or use much of a large roll of batting. And so cutting into the fusible fleece today was quite the luxury. Yes, I might make this again. I think I will. And I think I will play with putting the tabs on each end of that zipper. And I think I will also play with this tab down here. I'm looking at the sort of the pucker there at the bottom there and thinking, yeah, I suppose when you're wearing it, you're not going to be looking at the bottom of the zipper, but I know I'm always saying I'm slapdash, but I'm sort of a bit of everything. Sometimes I'm a bit of a perfectionist and other times I'm slapdash. So I think what I'm going to do is try this again. I have the paper pattern that you make at the beginning of the video. I've got it all ready. I might as well use it again. I've got lots more of this denim. I could make a few out of the same denim, or I could try making it out of jeans, but the nice thing about this is it's not stretchy. So I wasn't battling stretchy. I think it might be time to go up and have some couch time with my crochet. In case you're wondering, when I have you set up and I'm sitting at my sewing machine, you can probably see that batting up there. That's because I had that wall as a design wall for a while when I was making a quilt last summer, and I covered that whole section of wall with batting. And so right now I've just rolled it back and pinned it out of the way so I can use my whiteboard, which is why it's just sort of hanging there looking odd. All right. I think before I do another project though, I'm going to have to vacuum in here. I'm going to have to pick all my darn pins up again. Okay, enough waffle, Nicola. Time to say goodbye. And thanks again for watching. Love to read your comments. And if you've got any questions about anything I've talked about, if I didn't link something underneath, or if you just need some clarification, you can always leave a comment. I always read the comments. I always reply to the comments. And my email, I've got an email, stitchesandslapdashery@gmail.com. There, stitchesandslapdashery@gmail.com. And I will get messages there. I don't necessarily check it every day. You know, with Gmail, you sort of have, I think I have 5 Gmail accounts now, which might not be many to a lot of people, but it's a lot for me. And you have to remember to click the little thing at the top so that you can, what's the word I'm looking for? Cycle between them. That's the word. And I don't always remember to do that, but I will get any emails and I will reply to them. And as I said before, I think I'm Stitches and Slapdashery on Instagram. I'm Nicolaknits on Ravelry, if you want to go look at my project pages or anything like that. And I am Nicolaknits.com if you want to read my blog. But these days, there's more stuff on the blog here than there is on the blog there, because I'm just doing monthly wrap-ups on the blog. The video is so much more fun to do. So, thanks again, and I will see you again very soon.